Employee engagement is the key to success. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited to have Megan Vallis here from Equitable Life. She's been on some of our symposiums and, of course, has presented some other topics. But today's a little bit different, and we are very excited about it. This is about communication. So for anybody who's been an advisor of ours in the past or in the present, who utilize our services, you will know that some of our business models include working with you and your client to have a proper employee engagement. Employee engagement is the key to success. So at IDC, we always talk about 5 stakeholders. There's you, the advisor. There's us as the MGA, if you're utilizing our services. There's our carrier partners, today being Equitable Life. There's your prospect or your business owner. And of course, the last stakeholder, which is probably the most important, is the employee. And from an employee perspective, having the tools, the resources, the guidance, the information, knowing what the actual program is offering, that is the measure of success. That's what we try to do in our quest for humanizing benefits. And it's the opportunity for employees to be engaged from all aspects of their benefit plan. But if an employee doesn't know what's in their benefit plan, if they don't know where to go to for help and support, then it doesn't matter which insurance company you're with. It doesn't matter who you are as we haven't done our job. And so it's really important as advisors that you are getting in front of your clients. Maybe it's utilizing our services and we're helping you, but really getting in front of the client to make sure that all of the employees are engaged, that they understand what's included in their benefit plan, what to do in case of an emergency during in a travel claim, or making sure that they change their beneficiaries every year, and the repercussions that might fall into play there. So we're very excited to have Megan because she's going to be talking about communication and the key to success. Just some general housekeeping. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. They're being monitored backstage. And then if Megan has time, she'll pop them up as well. So that's the first thing. The second thing, for any advisors that are in Quebec, you may have received a pop-up on your screen to fill out some information. There is some important information that we're going to need for you with respect to credits and so on and so forth. And so from there, again, if we have enough time, we'll get to all of your questions. They're going to be monitored. And I'm going to leave and I'm going to hand it over to Megan. Megan, super excited to have you again. And always love to have Equitable as part of the team.
Thank you very much, Marty. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm going to do a quick refresher on Easy Benefits, which is the Equitable small group product. Easy Benefits, really we built it for advisors just as much as we built it for small business owners. And when I say we built it for advisors, because we wanted to put together a product that was just so simple and so easy for you, because we know that everyone's got limited time and we didn't want to have for your small business clients the benefit program take up a ton of time. So everything's streamlined. We have a dedicated advisor concierge service as well. And of course, you have the IDC team to help you out there. So Easy Benefits is for 2 to 25 employees, and it has a really competitive plan design. I'm just going to kind of go through things really quickly here because you can get all your resources from Marnie and the team. But a couple of the core features of Easy Benefits is really fast quote turnaround time. and fast implementation. It's digital end-to-end. We're getting quotes out in 1 to 2 days, and implementation also only takes 2 or 3 days. So you can get plan setup done very quickly. Really high level from a plan design perspective. You've got 4 options to choose from: bronze, silver, gold, or platinum, and you choose everything in one of those columns. So you can see here what the life insurance amounts are. Dependent life is available as well. Long-term disability, there's one option, so you either choose to have it or not have it on the plan. The really big feature with the long-term disability is that the non-evidence maximum or non-evidence limit is $5,000. So that's whether your group's 2 people or 25 people. And so this is a really huge kind of pro here. It's a very competitive non-evidence maximum. And this really means that, most plan members aren't going to have to apply for any coverage medically, which is going to keep surprises at a very minimum, because often when you have a small group plan, you might have a non-evidence limit of maybe $1,000 or $2,000, and people can get a bit of a bad shock when they go off on claim, not realizing that they could have had more if they'd applied medically. Under the healthcare plan, usually we have different co-insurance levels. It is a pooled program, so we do have a drug max in here to keep everyone's rates quite stable. And then we've got really strong paramedical practitioner amounts, and we chose to peel out mental health as a separate amount because we know that that's a really big focus for a lot of employers and for employees. And on the dental care plan, this is the general listing of the services available under the healthcare. Obviously, the list is much longer than this. That's just a snapshot of some of the things included in the program. So then in the dental care, you can see that it's very robust. Major dental kicking in at gold. We built the gold plan to be the one that would be probably the most go-to plan, and that is what we're finding. And then last, you have the option to include a healthcare spending account if you choose. Healthcare spending account fees are 8%. And then we have a couple of embedded features into the plan for the employer. We have HR downloads, which is HR support and services for the business owner. And then we have an employee assistance program with Homewood and virtual care with Dialogue. So those programs are included as well. From a pricing perspective, the life and LTD are guaranteed for 28 months and the health and dental for 16 months at the first renewal. And then everything flows in a 12-month cycle after that. We just released our first set of renewals. We launched Easy Benefits just over a year ago in last summer 2023. And the health and dental renewed with only a 3% increase. So our goal of stable pricing is working. This isn't our first rodeo with a pooled program, so we do know how to run it well. We do underwrite the risk of a group coming into the pool, and then they kind of join the pool. That's a really quick kind of high level overview of Easy Benefits, but if you'd like some more info, you can scan this QR code. This will take you to your IDC team, or you can reach out to Marnie afterwards. I'll just leave this here for a second while I take a little sip of tea. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of why you're here. Benefit plan communication. So employee benefit plans are often one of the most expensive talent acquisition and retention tools offered by organizations, but employers really struggle to convey the value in the plan. And me as insurers and use advisors, we provide various tools to help communicate the group benefit plan, but how employers represent their benefits and how they represent the benefit plan, that'll translate in how employees actually will perceive its value. I think this quote is really fitting for the next set of information that we're going to see. So keep this in mind. So starting off with some concerning stats, which speak to plan member perception. An Older Benefits Canada healthcare survey reported that 83% of plan members believe that their employer pays a fixed cost for the benefit plan, regardless of utilization. We know that's not to be true. Most benefit plans, unless they're in a pooled program like our Equitable Easy benefits, are based on premium in and claims out. So claims have a direct impact into the cost that an employee and an employer pays. So this really shows the beginnings of a disconnect between, an individual's actions and the impact on the benefit plan, and really a general lack of understanding around how the benefit plans work. Next, we see from the HR reporter that 40% of plan members don't know what an employee assistance program is. So for us here on the call, an employee assistance program is a program that's available at no cost to a plan member, and they can access a variety of services, the main service being mental health care. Depending on the EAP provider you use will depend on what other programs or services are available under under the program. For example, legal aid might, for going through a divorce, could be in there. And there's lots of other things. So the EA program is quite vast, but its core function is mental health care. And the mental health care can be delivered in person or online, kind of employee preference. So we've got 40% of plan members not knowing what an employee assistance program is. That's quite high. EAPs have been around for decades now. And TELUS Health found that 25% of people have heard of an EAP, but they don't know what it is. And the same number, 25%, also thought, didn't know how to access the service. So we've got people not knowing what it is, or people who do know what it is, but they don't know how to access it. Keeping on this EAP frame, we've got another group of employees saying that cost was a barrier to access this program, even though it's free. So we can see here, just on one small piece of the benefit program, a lot of misconception and a lot of misunderstanding about it. So when you want to find out info about your day-to-day life, most of us ask Google. Many of us ask Reddit. Getting info from Reddit seems innocent enough. There's a lot of great threads in there, a lot of great advice. But when you look more closely, this isn't necessarily a place you want to drive plan members because it's a great way for them to get incorrect info. And to further drive this message home, a recent well-being study from insurance found that there's a coverage gap. So over 1/4 of working Canadians do not or are unsure of if they even have employer provided benefits. So 26% of people don't know if they have a benefit plan. And then we have 24% of people admit that they don't know how much coverage they have. So we've got a lot of people not knowing if they even have a plan, or if they do, what coverage they have, which we could send them into this Reddit rabbit hole. Let's get into the Reddit rabbit hole though. What's in there? Well, the comments section inevitably reveals folks who think it's okay to commit fraud and steal from their employers, because ultimately benefit fraud, you're not stealing from the insurance company, you're essentially stealing from your employer. So the plan members in this section posted the following question. I have a fairly good coverage through my work for extended benefits plan. The only thing is we don't have massage. My employer covers regular items, acupuncture, physio, chiro, dietitian, naturopath, speech therapy, psychologists, etc. I have no glaring issues right now, so my plan will likely go unused. I'm wondering though, if anyone has any recommendations for hidden ways to use the benefits that I haven't thought about. For example, maybe an acupuncturist who does massage or workout classes that could potentially be covered under physio. As one real example, I recently learned that Pilates classes can be covered under my physio benefit, which isn't the case with all carriers, with a referral from a physiotherapist. Any other hidden gems? Thanks, Vancouver. So that's the question. And already in the question, there's some framing of questionable activities, like an acupuncturist delivering massage therapy. Well, that's this person trying to get massage, which isn't covered in their plan, which then makes that an ineligible claim. So it wouldn't be allowed. So that's kind of shady behavior there. But this thread had 62 comments, And this small snapshot here is quite revealing. So the reason why a highly valued benefit isn't covered really hasn't been communicated. We don't know why massage isn't there, but the Redditors are making a lot of assumptions. And really what's coming out of this is a poor view of this person's employer. And this might lead this person to feel less satisfied about their work or not cared about. And the plan member also doesn't feel like the plan meets their needs. They're saying they're not going to use anything. They're trying to find ways to find value in it. They're clearly trying to find ways to be proactive with their health. And they don't want this sort of core piece of their compensation to go unused. There's great suggestions in this thread on how to commit fraud, which is not great. Again, this is why we don't want to sort of push people into a forum like this. But we also see that the plan member wasn't comfortable asking their manager or their colleagues about the benefit plan, which you can see why is a bit of an issue, because now they're getting a lot of sort of borderline information or straight up fraud suggestions. This thread, though, did have some hidden gems, such as physio bike fittings, which are legitimate. Going to the spa for your RMT, so you can use the pools afterwards, which is a great tip for people who are trying to get access to maybe some other healthcare facilities. And then it had other great general healthcare maintenance tips, like getting your teeth cleaned regularly, your eyes checked for disease, because vision care examinations aren't just about whether or not you need glasses, they're for the health of your eyes. And it does dive into some other preventative ways, preventative healthcare, like physio kinesiology. But mostly it was borderline or just straight up fraudulent activity. So the carrier you choose matters, because how the carrier interacts with your client will really drive the plan member experience. So whether you have 10,000 plan members or 2 plan members, every interaction every single day is going to be impactful to the plan member. So at Equitable, for example, we train our client care center to use positive language. They're not marked on how long a call length is. They're trained on empathy and thinking ahead. So keeping in mind kind of that call center experience, why are plan members calling? Love to see maybe some guesses in the chat what you think the number one reason for calling is. I'll let those start to filter in while I share some of the other percentages for reasons why people call in. So 4% of calls are for web support. So password reset, that kind of thing. Then 9.8% of calls are just drug coverage questions. And then there's kind of other things, transfers to admin, things like that. But the number one reason people are calling is for health coverage questions. 88% of them are around what's covered and at what amount. There are some more specific questions that come in under this category, like when can I go see my vision provider next? And then, of course, after healthcare, the next number one is dental. People are calling wondering, what is my dental coverage? When can I go for a cleaning next? How many scaling units do I have? So we've identified this problem around plan members not knowing what their benefits are and them not knowing how to access them. And then we see that they're not always going to the right place to find that information. Why should we care about that? Well, this disconnect impacts the perception of value that plan members have about their plan. So I've already started to talk a lot about value. And I'm going to talk about this a lot because valuing the plan is very important. It's connected to being satisfied with your job. So the Benefits Canada Healthcare Survey year over year finds that people who say that their benefit plan is good also are more likely to say that they're satisfied with their employer. So there's a strong correlation between the two. We also see that plan member when plan members understand their plan extremely well or very well, they're much more likely to describe their plan as excellent and good. And then again, like I was saying earlier, be satisfied with their job. And so this isn't a new finding in the Benefits Canada Healthcare Survey. This finding has been in every survey going back to 2008. So understanding the plan equals being satisfied with the plan equals being satisfied with your job. So understanding plan, valuing the plan, job satisfaction, the three of them go together hand in hand. Now, some of you may have seen this next slide before because I'm all about the braggable benefits for the reason that I just said, those three things connected here. And this is what can happen when a person really values the benefit program. And if employers are trying to use the benefit plan as a retention and recruitment tool, they need to share what's in the plan. People can't use what's in the plan if they don't know what's there. They don't know how to use it. We saw those stats earlier. So there are barriers to using the benefit plan, of course, time, privacy, money. Maybe employees don't know what they don't know. And so really when we're thinking about, braggable benefits, it's not just about having, like, this is a pretty big braggable kind of plan enhancement we see on the screen here with, big benefits being added to the plan. But when it comes to kind of that braggable benefit, it's really just more about having relevant benefits at a point in time for an employee. Mental health care, virtual care, even group CI, like these things are all braggable benefits at the right moment in someone's life. So we don't need to add a bunch of new big blockbuster benefits to a plan for the plan to meet employees' needs. We just need to make sure that they understand what is in the plan and how to access that care and when. And when we're able to do that, the plan sponsor, here's our first license poll question. So make sure if you're in Quebec, you fill that out. And with the cost of replacing an employee ranging between 90% and 200% of an employee's annual salary, it really saves businesses time and money when they can retain employees from day one. So if an understood and valued benefit program can help reduce turnover, it's really worth the time empowering plan members to navigate their benefits and to understand how to access them. So let's start thinking about, when does communication happen? So thinking about the amount of times the group benefit plan is communicated to plan members. It might be at time of hire, maybe when you're changing insurance providers, maybe at a plan design change is happening, or at a renewal, perhaps ad hoc communication is happening. It really depends on the group and the advisor that's helping the employer manage the group plan. So thinking about at hire, what happens? An employee is given a booklet, maybe a benefits summary, maybe they're given nothing and they're just guided to go online and have a read. Thinking about that moment in time, it's a really great place to start of, here are the benefit plans. Maybe a manager is sitting down with a new hire and walking through them coverage. Maybe they're walking them through how to submit a claim, but oftentimes nothing is happening. So many clients feel that it's meaningful to do a thorough review for all employees when a new carrier is introduced. And this is a really great way to refresh everyone by kind of having that plan member meeting, doing a review of the coverage and a review, maybe like a quick demo of how do you claim, how do you find things, who do you contact for when and what. But this sort of point in time, this new carrier, new system, that shouldn't be the only time that we're doing these demos and speaking to these things. That kind of messaging for employees can be really powerful, and it's something we might want to consider doing more often, which we'll talk about soon. When there's a plan design change, that's also a time when the plan is communicated or recommunicated. Might be a short email advising the change, might be a detailed summary of what the changes are. Maybe this has triggered another plan member meeting. You got to think about, would this communication differ depending on what the plan changes are, enhancements, maybe versus takeaways? What are the messaging behind it? Are there, what nuances do we have to share here? So there's a lot to unpack in all of these sort of different communication timeframes, because they're all a little bit nuanced. When we're communicating, it's really important for us to all understand who is in the workforce. So for now, just a couple of points to keep in mind. Gen Alpha isn't in the workforce yet, so they're not listed. They're 11 or younger. And the silent generation, who is 79 plus, might be in the workforce, but they're not listed here because Stats Canada considers the working population as age 16 to 64. But many of the silent generation are in plans, and if they are, they might be in a part-time capacity, or they might be your main contact because they're the business owner. But so thinking about who's in the office and how they like to interact, we've got Gen Zs. They're digital natives where the internet is a part of their daily lives. They don't know a pre-internet world. They don't know a pre-smartphone world. 65% of Gen Zs prefer to communicate online more often than in person. And growing up with lightning fast internet, upload speeds, there's none of the I know they're getting people some dial-up flashbacks there. They didn't have to wait. And this may have impacted their preference on speed and communications as well. They expect rapid responses. Most Gen Zs will hang up the phone within 45 seconds of waiting. So there's a direct example of how carrier choice matters. How long is an insurance carrier's average wait time for their client care center? At Equitable, for example, ours was 32 seconds recently. So we're in, but 2 weeks before that, it was 60 seconds. So a Gen Z might have hung up on us. But what about carriers at 5-minute wait times, or 10 or 15 or 20? They're definitely not getting through. Gen Zs also want to be able to do things start to finish on mobile. Keep in mind that mobile doesn't mean an app per se, it just means their mobile device. They want a short digital application process, and they want a delighting instant experience. However, when at work or when communicating with older generations, it's shown that the preferred way for them to communicate, might surprise you, is face-to-face. I personally think this is because there can be some communication confusion over text between Gen Zs and older generations because of the way that Gen Z uses different language and applies different meaning to different emojis than other generations do. The thumbs up is a great example of that. Gen Zs are known to find the thumbs up to be passive aggressive, whereas older generations, it's just a simple acknowledgement. So millennials are mostly digital natives. Some elder millennials are from that sort of pre-digital world, but they're still a native because they grew up with it. The majority of millennials own a smartphone, and the ease of texting or messaging through online apps, is preferred really for them as opposed to calling. They often avoid face-to-face interactions in workplace settings. So think of millennials jumping on Zoom with cameras off. Camera off is a preferred setting for millennials. And instead of face-to-face, they prefer using online messaging or email to communicate with bosses or with colleagues. This population is also the fastest growing due to immigration, and they currently make up the largest share of the working population. By 2029, they will actually be just the largest generation in the country. Then we've got Gen Xs. They're the first to have incorporated digital technology in their youth. They're early adopters of email, and as they grew into adulthood, their preferences for communication really evolved due to the simplicity of technology. Email is the preferred form of communication, whether at home or work. Xers prefer short, brief messages as opposed to lengthy ones, and they're really the bridge between the future generations of workers and those closer to retirement. So baby boomers were once our largest generation, no longer anymore, as millennials are taking that title. I mean, boomers have experienced all of the technology advancements. When they were entering the workforce, there were typewriters at every desk. People were using phones and fax machines. And when computers were entered into the workforce, they were bulky, they were huge. So they've really gone through the whole gambit of technology. Their preferred method to communicate is face-to-face. Especially, at work or at home, in person, they really prefer face-to-face interactions. Phone is second, and then online communication would be third. Although boomers are comfortable using technology such as email on a day-to-day basis, most of this generation at this stage is now transitioning into retirement. So with Gen Z, sorry, I meant to switch slides earlier. So here's a little recap of the preferred methods. Keep this kind of snapshot in mind as we go through the rest of our information here. So at Equitable, we're undergoing a really big project that we call the Effortless Experience. We're trying to make things effortless, you might have guessed, for our plan members and our clients. And because of this initiative, we surveyed 6,000 of our plan members about their experience. And this is a snapshot of what we heard about how they wanted to communicate. So it's a little bit small here. Hopefully you can see it on your computer screens, but you can see that most people are preferring to self-serve, still loving the phone, email's really strong. And then we have text message and what's this last one? Oh, digital chat, 18%. So for the most part, it's digital-based communication and then some strong phone as well. Because of each generation's unique communication style, employers really need to tailor their conversations with their employees. For example, a meeting with a baby boomer may call for a more formal tone and probably in person, while a conversation with a Gen Z or a millennial might be more relaxed, maybe just over Zoom or even on a chat. So even though we're kind of talking about generational stereotypes here, obviously not everyone lives up to them, and employers really need to understand the best communication style for their employee group and be willing to individualize communications when appropriate. It's also important to use a variety of communication mediums in order to reach everyone. So a key to better intergenerational communication is the willingness to teach and learn. And we're learning a lot about how different communications like to communicate. So this is really important because one generation may observe a different meaning than intended. I'd already mentioned one of those with the thumbs up emoji, and there's a lot of other examples like that. If any of you have Gen Alphas at home, they're speaking a whole other language, and we'll have to start deciphering that eventually, but not anytime soon because they're only 11. But things are Ohio and have Riz and skibbity toilets. And what does that even mean? And will they bring that slang into the workplace? But all these generations, do have differences in preference, but there will be a time when you just have to, choose a method to communicate. And it may be one that you're less familiar with or less comfortable with using, but will be the best form of communication to be successful. Individualizing communication also means meeting employees where they are. So keeping in mind that a lot of the Benefits Canada healthcare survey results are office workers, it's important to really think about all workers because people work in many different sites and locations and capacities. So where are employees during the day? How are they interacting with their employer? Today we have employees joining sessions from their job site using their smartphones. We have technology installed on sites that are HR oriented, computers and iPads. We've got a lot of different ways that employees can access technology depending on when they're working. And when we dig deep into the Benefits Canada plan members who reported that they didn't understand their benefit plan, more than half of those people said that they only understood it somewhat well or not well. So these folks were most likely to report that they did not understand, the people that were most likely to report that they did not understand their benefits had a household income of $60K or less, and they weren't satisfied with their job, or they'd arrived in Canada within the last 5 years. So if you have a group where you have average salaries of 60K or lower, you have a lot of newcomers to Canada, you know that this group is going to be less likely to understand their benefit plan. They're going to be more likely to report they have poor health. So this is a group to first focus on when you're trying to, communicate more in a plan or reach people. You have groups where, communicating more is probably a bigger priority than in some of your other groups. So groups like that would be one example. And so all of these little charts that you'll see, they're from the Benefits Canada Healthcare Survey, so I won't keep referencing that. But so this one shows, the most effective ways to communicate. And it's really interesting to see how this slide and then the next slide are going to differ. So this is what plan sponsors think. So thinking back to the perceived value that employees have in the benefit plan, the effort and the way in which the employer communicates what's covered is going to carry a lot of weight in how employees perceive its value. If employers are good at communicating why they have the benefit plan in the first place, they're good at communicating the coverage that they're providing and how to use it, we're going to have a great time. But here we see plan sponsors reference the booklet, the insurer site. They think in-person meetings are great, their intranet. Let's see how this matches up with plan members. So everyone can agree email is number one. So over here, we still have the plan sponsors as the chart, but here in the bulk, the typed out in the mainframe is what plan members think. So it doesn't quite line up. The top three are the same three, but different order, and the percentages are way different. Then we have mail, which is very surprising to me. I was very surprised to see that. A fan favorite, in-person meetings is very low on the plan member list. So I think here the big message is that email is the low-hanging fruit when it comes to communication. It's rated the most effective by both plan sponsors and plan members. Email also helps with language barrier and is preferred by those where English is their second language, because you can use Google Translate to translate the message into whatever language you need it to be. And email can also be tucked away and filed and saved for later, which is important. We also see how plan members, go to the insurance company website first. So having a strong insurance company experience is important here. You need to have a great app. Information needs to be easy to find. The information needs to be laid out in a simplistic manner. You need plain language. So this is a really critical piece of the employee benefit experience. So before we dig into the top three from this list more, let's start creating a communication plan. I'm going to throw it out there. Most plan members probably aren't group benefit experts. So the key is to keep communication simple and concise. We need to ensure that the information is understood and retained. And we can do this by making communications more frequent, kind of a less is more principle. So when it comes to communication, you don't need to have something new as an excuse to communicate. The key really is to have a plan. So making a communication plan doesn't have to be difficult. First, we just need to determine what the purpose of the communication is and who the audience is, so that we have a clear call to action. So in most cases, for us, it's really to empower plan members to navigate and use their benefits. So with that in mind, consider what is the best medium to communicate based on the demographics in the plan and their family members, of course. Then just go for it. So you'll want to choose more than one form of communication, but you can reuse your materials. So for example, let's say you have a plan member website walkthrough session with the insurance carrier, and then that information is recorded. Well, you can load that recording so it's accessible on an intranet site or somewhere else. You can email that to everyone, since everyone loves email. Remember, an email doesn't have to be a text. You can embed video in emails. Emails are great for sharing with loved ones. A plan member's dependents are extremely difficult to reach, and email is a perfect way to do that. You can also load a video to, an internal company YouTube channel. You can communicate links through SMS, and you could also send the links to employees' families with their permission. Now, I know we all get a million notifications and emails every day. So a part of any communication plan really is about cutting through the noise and finding ways to make the info that you're sharing resonate with the right people, regardless of the chosen communication medium. Communicating in clear, plain language will really help with this because people will be more likely to remember the message. Keeping communication short and frequent helps the message land. You need to repeat, just kind of like I've been doing in this session. I don't know how many more times I'm going to say that the value of your plan is linked to job satisfaction, but it's that kind of repetitive messaging, short, succinct, easy, that we need to see in benefit plan communication. Because in many cases, the info doesn't sink in until a person needs to use it. So by repeating your communications, you're more likely to reach a plan member when the time is right. So consider the particular employee population as well. How do they want to access their information? So what kind of generations do we have in the office? Where are they working? Do they want to self-serve? That's going to dictate which medium you use first. All right, let's get into what a plan might look like a little bit in a bit more detail. So once we know who we are communicating to and why, okay, we know the medium we want to use. We're going to use plain language. What's next? Well, communicating in structured buckets is a really effective way to get messages across. So for example, maybe in your top drug report in your parameds, you see that there's a lot of mental health drugs. You see there's a lot of psychology claims. So you want to make sure that you communicate the mental health resources in the plan. So that's your structured bucket number one. You do a communication series about mental health. So maybe that's, you do an email, maybe you then repeat that email in a text, maybe you put a poster in the lunchroom. So you just have this sort of section of time that's all about mental health. And then you communicate that in small, frequent bursts in different ways. Then you move on to a next step. Maybe it's physical health. You go into the parameds, and so on and so forth. And then when you're done, you don't have to recreate the wheel. You can just rotate through right back to the top and go through again, or you can create even more buckets. Oh, sorry, everyone. I scrolled instead of through slides instead of scrolling down. So we've got our mental health email buckets out there. Let's say you do email number one. Could be very simple. What is mental health? What resources are available? Email two. Now that you know what resources are available, when do you use them? How do you access them? Email three. Other resources that are available, like leveling up your mental health. So you can see how you don't have to have everything kind of in one big chunk. You can just trickle it out. Within the communications, you can get a bit deeper if you want, depending on the medium you're using. You can share ideas and stories on usage to inspire others. There's also a secondary bucket structure that you can repeat as you're kind of going through each of these sections. So if you have the mental health topic, this is what it is, blah, you can have always kind of on the side, here's how you access, here's how you access, or if you have questions, call, if you have questions, call. So you can kind of have like a recurring theme in each of your buckets as well. So digging in more in the email, it's the lowest hanging fruit. So let's think back to some of the communication preferences. Again, we're talking about our generational cohorts. Everyone liked email. Everyone liked to communicate virtually, but some of the cohorts preferred phone interactions or face-to-face. And we get so many emails day to day. how many of them are simply read me emails? How many of them are actually actionable? Do the emails actually get through to plan members' dependents? So despite the full inbox, we do know that email will continue to be the default choice for most plan sponsors because it's the easiest. Plan sponsors can make emails more likely to be read, though, by ensuring that it's not longer than the equivalent of one phone screen. So when I'm saying short, frequent bursts, that's what I mean by short. Because as soon as the email is like a scroll, so if you're, on your phone and you got to get to the next line, you kind of go, oh, that email is too long, and people will abandon the email, they'll lose interested, or they might only skim over the information, therefore not absorbing the full communication that was intended to share. But email is impactful because, like I said earlier, it can be saved for later. But the key really here is a simple introduction that will remove ambiguity, encourage the employee to take action, and then they've got that small little nugget there that they can file away for later. At Equitable, for example, we use email, and our plan administrator email e-news rate is very high. We have a 60% open rate. So again, just kind of reinforcing how much people like email and how impactful it is. Booklets were on the list. This one really surprised me because booklets are so wordy and they don't use plain language. I think it's just an easy kind of refer to for plan sponsors to kind of pass the buck on the responsibility of maybe not giving incorrect information. So you get a lot of like, well, check your booklet. But plan members, I mean, really are only likely to scan the booklet if they're looking for really specific coverage information. So this is a bit of a tough space for members, even though it was a go-to for plan sponsors. It's a tough resource. It's not, like I said, it's not plain language. It's 90 pages. They're digital now, though. So if you're looking for something specific, you can Control F and use the find function for things. But I feel like booklets are a big cause for people calling in and asking for more information. Or they can't find it in the booklet, they might scour the insurer website. Now, you can use carrier resources to not just empower the plan administrators and management, but the employees and all plan members. We really want to empower plan members to navigate their benefits so their experience with the carrier can be easy, can be effortless, easy for things to find. And empowering employees is critical. Stigma might be preventing employees from asking for help or asking for information because our health is private, and many employees don't want to share with their manager that they're looking for information on fertility, mental health, erectile dysfunction, menstruation, menopause. By asking for help, an employee may actually have to reveal an invisible disability that they're not ready to reveal yet or ever. So, and in a lot of situations, we've got tight employer groups where an employer may think they know employees well and everything that's going on with them, but it's likely that they don't, or they don't know it's impacting the employee's family members. Personally, I wouldn't want, my spouse to reveal my health to my employer, but like, frankly, it's none of their business. So, I think that, this is a really important kind of overlooked piece to communication. And this again is where your carrier choice is important. An employee's experience navigating the benefit program directly impacts their knowledge of the plan and then their satisfaction and the value of the plan. So a key factor to consider here is, what happens if the plan member isn't able to find what they're looking for? Can they call the insurer directly? Do they go to HR or the manager? Do they give up looking? So the carrier website is a really kind of key piece to the employee experience. At Equitable, our experience is already highly rated by your advisor peers and by plan sponsors, but it's really, really key. And I'm going to leave you now with an example of what one screen of communication looks like. It's not a lot. It's about 2 paragraphs. But that is a small burst right there. That's it for the communication plan. What questions do you have for me on plan communicating? What kind of things are your employers looking for? I'll leave it open to the group here.
So let me look through to see if there's any questions on this. Somebody had asked that they just got an inquiry for massage plan only. Do you have a plan for such coverage? I'm going to assume that the answer is no.
Yes, the answer to that would indeed be no.
Yes.
Yeah, generally massage only.
Yeah.
A great fit for a massage only plan would be a healthcare spending account plan.
Yes.
With a healthcare spending account, you can claim anything that the CRA has deemed to be a medical expense. So I would suggest for that employer to put in place just a healthcare spending account for all of their members. There's a lot of great standalone healthcare spending account providers, and Marnie can, help guide you to choose the right fit for that employer, because there's different kind of setup structures and whatnot. Some of them might even be able to customize it down to massage only. I don't know. But really that's offering, this is a really great example of insurance versus benefits. And I think that a lot of the time when we think about the group benefit plan, we're not thinking about it as insurance. But there's kind of 2 components to a benefit plan. There's non-insurance components that are day-to-day expenses, and there's actual insurance, life, disability, drugs, even bigger dental claims out of country. Like those are true insurance components. And then there's this piece of just, we want to offer perks. Like that would be a perk for employees. And you wouldn't want to insure something like that because it would be dollars in and dollars out. So, but yeah, the healthcare spending account would be a great tool for that.
Great. Thanks, Megan. So with that, just want to say to all our advisors to thank you all for joining us today. Just as well as Megan said, IDC Win Workplace Solutions and the advisors that are on the line, if you haven't utilized our services, this is where you're going to want to reach out to your designated business development executive across Canada. Number one, because we can help create communication pieces to be effective in engaging into the workforce, into those stakeholders that I spoke about when we first started, and why that communication is so important. And we can, of course, help you create those, bring up your credibility, and leveraging what you do best by leveraging what we do best. So we're there to help. And then in terms of, actually crafting benefit plans that are more in tune with your client objective and making sure that that the employees of that company are properly protected. We can also help do that with you as well. And so that's going to be really important. Megan did bring up at the beginning, once again, as part of our Equitable series, the easy benefits. So if you have any questions about that program, which is really robust and a great offering for some of your small to mid-market clients, please do also reach out because we're able to run that and work with you and help you implement those as well. But the key here, or the key takeaway, is that communication is key, and making sure that you're properly communicating with your clients and their employees is going to be it's success for everybody, and making sure that the employees have what they need. If you don't know how to do that, that's when you come and you reach out to your IDC Win business development executives in order to help you and guide you and work with you. So I do suggest that you do that. But with that, Megan, thank you so much for this webinar. Very insightful. Love the stats that you provided. And then if anybody has any direct questions, please feel free to reach out to any of the business development executives that you are aligned with. If you don't know who you're aligned with, then you can reach out to me and I can guide you. And my email address is mhefner@idcwin.ca, and then we can guide you in the right direction. But with that, I think we've got 5 minutes left, and I think we'll let everybody get on back to their day with a big thank you, Megan, as well.
Great, thanks everyone.
Thank you. Talk soon.